Hello again, it's me, Steven. Today I'm going to be doing an unboxing of Power Rangers Heroes of the Grid new releases by Renegade Game Studios. I know normally we do Star Trek Attack Wing, but it's also a game that I tend to help out with via demoing or writing scenarios. So we're going to be looking at the RPM Ranger Pack and the Arsenal Pack, which is the first of its kind for this game system. Now, if you don't know much about Power Rangers Heroes of the Grid, it is the Guardian System game that is released by Renegade Game Studios. They have two versions. They have G.I. Joe Mission Critical, and of course they have the Power Rangers version. The Team Pack, we've had many of these before, from Zeo to Time Force, RPM, which is this one, and SPD that we had the most recent time. So we're going to open this up, take a look at all the contents, and look at all the cards. I know previously we got Dr. K from the Ranger Ally Pack 3, which she was our first tease to this, which is quite fun. But inside each team pack you're going to get 5 Ranger figures, 5 character cards, a combat deck for each Ranger, as well as Zords. And I believe this pack comes with several Megazords. It's 2, maybe 3. We're going to take a look though. As usual, the Ranger figures are pretty highly detailed, especially for this team. Inside you'll find the rules insert. The main things here, we'll go over some rules involving Ziggy, as well as removing cards from the game. Because of Dylan. Dylan has the ability to remove his cards from the game and get them back. Alright, I guess let's look at the first Ranger for the team. We have Scott Truman. This is his figure. The leader of the RPM Rangers. Scott Truman, Ranger Operator Series Red. He has Assault Burst once per battle before rolling dice for an attack. You may add 3 dice to that attack. Skip the next Ranger turn in battle. This is very decent for any Ranger to have, to be able to boost the damage of their attacks, but it does come at the cost of skipping the Ranger turn. Like with most Ranger decks, he's going to have 2 copies of each of his cards, except for the team card and his power weapon card. So we'll be taking a look at each one. So the first one up is his reaction. Attack Sequence Mustang is a 1 shield reaction card that costs X. It says play this card at the start of any Ranger turn, any enemy turn in battle. For each energy spent to play this card, reduce all damage dealt to Ranger by 1 until the end of this battle. This one's very good because it can affect cards that attacks multiple Rangers. This can help you against a lot of high damaging cards, especially if you have a lot of extra energy. But it's very useful. It's one of the best defense cards we've seen for a Ranger in a long time. Next up for him is Condor Strike. This is a X cost 2 dice attack, 2 shield value. It deals 1 damage to any number of enemy cards other than the target equal to the amount of energy spent to play this card. So if you need to pick off some cards that you had injured but hadn't previously taken out, you can put in some extra energy into Condor Strike and deal those cards damage. You could probably set up to help with combinations with some of the other Rangers in this pack, like Flynn. Next is a familiar card, Redline Slash. A 0 cost attack for 2 dice, has 2 shields. If there are no energy in the shared pool, add 1 dice to this attack. Last time we saw this card was for Turbo Tommy, another car themed Red Ranger, so it's fun to see it back in this deck. He has a 0 cost maneuver called Rev the Engines. It's a 3 shield card. Gain 1 energy. The next time any Ranger performs an attack this battle, add 2 dice to the next attack. Pretty fun, pretty fun. The team card that all 5 of the Rangers will have in this deck will be the Nitro Blaster. It is a X cost attack for 3 dice, but you may divide damage from this attack among any number of targets equal to the amount of energy spent to play this card. Now, of course, you're going to have to spend 1 to make the initial target, so it'll be a base attack, so 1 for 3 dice. But if you are pumping it with, say, Rev the Engine or Scott's ability, and you add more dice to it, you can then spend more to target more cards, which can help mitigate the fact that you are spending more energy into it. And his power weapon is Street Saber Strike. It is a 3-cost attack for 3 dice, a 3-shield card. Before rolling, if any effects add dice to this attack, you may choose one of those effects and apply it an additional time. So like Scott's actual ability, which adds 3 dice to the attack, you could then basically apply that again, and this would become a 9-dice attack. So he hits very hard. He has a good amount of splash damage, and their team can do spread damage. And he has probably one of the better defense cards that we've seen in a long time. So he's going to be quite fun for a lot of Rangers. We'll take a look at his Zord too, which is the Eagle Racer. The Eagle Racer, you exhaust this card when any Ranger performs an attack. That Ranger may add 1 die to the attack and ignore the guard keyword when choosing a target for the attack. This will be quite helpful because I believe there's not many cards for this team that can ignore guard. They have a few like sneaky ways to deal damage to certain cards via maneuvers or splash effects, but strictly ignore guard, they don't do a lot of. All right, next up is Flynn McAllister, Ranger Series, Operator Blue. That's his figure there with his power weapon. Here's his card. His ability is called a Time Burst. Once per battle, when any ranger turn, when the ranger played exactly 1 card, they may take an additional action, additional turn. But during that turn, you can only play maneuver cards. So, like with a few other cards that will allow you to take additional turns for Rangers, his is strictly that the activation of it means that he must have only played 1 card, and the follow-up is to play a maneuver card. Now, if the maneuver card does combo into other cards, you may do that. And take a look at his cards. Okay, so first up for him is going to be the Highland Strike. This is a 0-cost attack, 2 shields, and it does have a star ability. The attack is just 2 damage straight. You don't have to roll any dice for this. The star ability, which he has on several of his cards, is if this card is revealed for defense, you may add it to your hand instead of placing it onto the bottom of your deck or discarding it. This is very creative for him because he is another 2s deck, similar to how Sky was in the SPD Ranger pack and Trini is in the base game, meaning that he primarily has 2 shield cards, 1 shield card, and 1 3 shield card. So he can actually take a surprising amount of damage and then draw the cards of the star abilities. They still check for the damage, which is fine, but what this does, it allows you to, say, draw only a few cards in battle, take the early hits for the Rangers, replenish the cards in your hand. Next up is a 1-cost maneuver card called I'm Scottish, his catchphrase. It deals 2 damage to an enemy card of your choice. It also does +1 damage to the card if it's already resolved. It has the same star ability we saw in Highland Strike, which is if this card is resolved for defense, you may add it to your hand instead of placing it on the bottom of your deck or discarding it. Again, it's going to be awesome to use. Next up, 0-cost maneuver, push the limit, gains 2 energy. Another ranger may perform an attack with 2 dice. This is pretty good. It reminds me a lot of Team Tactics from Jason's deck, which gains energy, allows a ranger to play a card. This will just straight kind of give you more energy, but it limits what the action is after to just being this little 2 dice attack. But it could be quite good if you've run out of cards to do, or if you want someone to do something that maybe has an ability that triggers off an attack. Weaponize Morph is his next card, an X-cost maneuver. It base gains 2 energy, then you deal 1 hit to a number of enemy cards equal to the amount of energy spent to play this card. So bare minimum, like you should play spend 2 energy for this, because you're going to gain the 2 energy anyways to just deal 2. But if you notice his deck, he's already dealing a lot of just base damage with one of his attacks dealing 2. He's got Weaponized Morph now spreading damage. He has the I'm Scottish to just deal damage to cards. This is quite interesting for a Blue Ranger especially, to just deal all this passive damage like that. Just like Scott, he has the Nitro Blaster, which we already went through. The background's just colorized blue. And finally, he has the Turbo Cannon. It's a 3-cost attack that throws 5 dice, 3 shields. After you resolve this attack, any ranger may immediately play 1 maneuver card. This is great for him. As you saw, he has a lot of maneuver cards, and each of the other rangers, I believe, has 1. So you can at least chain with another ranger from this pack itself. Last up for him is his Zord, the Lion Hauler. It is exhaust this card when any ranger plays a maneuver card. Gain 1 energy. That ranger may place that card on the top of their deck instead of discarding it. This is quite good for a lot of the maneuver cards that rangers have that are 3 shields worth. You can use it to get ready to take an attack. You can use it for any other combination. For Flynn himself, he could place one of his maneuvers that has the star ability on top, thus just redrawing it anyways after playing it. I believe like Weaponized Morph is not one of the ones you can use, but I'm Scottish is probably the better one, because you can just deal 3 auto damage to a resolve card, then just put it back on top of your deck, draw it after taking damage. Quite fun. Next up we got Summer Lansdale. She is Ranger Operator Series Yellow. Her ability is Energy Burst. Once per battle, when any ranger spends at least 3 energy to play a card, you may deal 1 hit to an enemy card of your choice. That's not bad. Even if Flynn gains a lot of energy, she also will do that quite well, quite interestingly too. Her first card is Stunt Rider. It is a 1-cost reaction for 1 shield. You play this card when any ranger suffers damage. Reduce that damage by 2. The next time any ranger performs an attack in this battle, they may divide the damage among any number of targets. This is very nice for Dylan and for Scott, because they have the ability to make a lot of large dice attacks, but only against, say, 1 target. If you set it up with Stunt Rider first, you can end up saving a ranger from taking damage, then allow Scott or Dylan to just throw this big massive attack, spread the damage around. Next up we have Flare Kick. It's a 0-cost attack. It throws 1 attack die plus 1 auto damage for 2 shields. Gain an amount of energy equal to the number of damage rolled during this attack. It's basically like an auto damage version of Flying Kick, but you could get a little bit more energy. It has a much higher end for that. Loaded Strike, 0-cost attack for 2 dice, also has 2 shields. If there are at least 4 energy in the shared pool, add 1 die to this attack. So if you start out strong by just donating your energy to the pool or gaining some early, you can throw out a little bit higher attacks with her. She's also very good at gaining energy, which we'll see with her next card. Power Surge, an X-cost maneuver, has 3 shields. Gain an amount of energy equal to twice the amount of energy spent to play this card, max 5. So you could just deplete the entire pool, dump twice as much energy back in, start playing her cards to roll extra dice, or just allow everyone to just play a lot of their big combo-y cards. Like all the RPM Rangers, she does have Nitro Blaster. Just got a nice yellow background there. And her big card is the Zip Charger. It is a 3-cost maneuver with 3 shields. This one is very interesting. So you pay the 3, the card gets placed on your Ranger card. Until the end of this battle, when any Ranger spends energy to play anything, essentially, you place one of the energy tokens on this card. You can discard this at the start of a Ranger turn to deal 2 hits to an enemy card plus 1 for each energy token on this card. So it kind of like you want to play it pretty early, charge it up as the Rangers play their stuff, and then you can toss it at the start of a Ranger turn and just deal damage to a card. Maybe one that you missed when you're in a boss or monster fight, or maybe you just want to hit a card that you just didn't want to deal with early on. Definitely unusual. One of the first that we've seen like that. Her Zord, the Bear Crawler. Exhaust this card when there is at least 5 energy in the shared pool. Gain 3 energy. Like we saw, she can already just put a bunch of energy in there. This just keeps compounding more energy into the pool. Next up, we have Ziggy Grover. Ziggy's ability, he's Ranger Operator Series Green. He has erratic teleportation. He is one of the most interesting Rangers that Renegade has come out with for this game. So at any time, you may discard a card from your hand to move your figure to an outer location of your choice. You may use this ability in battles you are not participating in. This is very, very good. It kind of reminds me a little bit of like a mix of Phantom Ranger plus Alpha or Dr. K. And in fact, if you're playing the RPM team and you're playing him with Dr. K, you're having a lot of Rangers that can participate in battles that they didn't necessarily start in. But the ability to discard cards and move can allow other Rangers to take actions to heal, because Ziggy can just show up and then he'll be there and could say start a fight if there is a requirement for doing 2 fights. His deck is also very interesting, which we are going to go through. He has the familiar Chansey Chop. We last saw this with Mighty Morphin Orange Skull. It is 0 cost attack for 2 dice, has 2 shields. Before rolling, choose evens or odds. If the number of hit results you roll matches your choice, gain an energy, and return this card to your hand instead of discarding it. It's kooky like him, and you can end up getting a pretty decent card out of it. Just generate energy, keep an attack in hand. It's quite useful. Sneak Attack. This is a 0 cost reaction, 2 shields. Play this card after another Ranger performs a maneuver to immediately perform an attack with 2 dice. This one is very awesome with Flynn especially, because he has that one maneuver to gain 2 and then allow someone to make a 2-die attack. So then Ziggy can sneak attack after that and make a 2-die attack himself. Trickster, 0 cost reaction, has 1 shield. Play this card when any Ranger reveals a card for defense. That Ranger may swap the revealed card with another card in their hand. This works quite well when you're just trying to be defensive, take a strong hit. Maybe you just don't have the energy to play the card, like in the case of Summer. You may not want to play the Zip Charger so early. It is a 3 shield card. You can use that and just swap it with a card that you have and let her do other things. Warp Strike is a good card, but it does have a big drawback, which I'll show you. It's a 1 cost attack, has 3 shields and a star ability. The attack is 1 dice plus 2 auto hits. That's really good. Takes away a lot of the randomness of attacking, but the star ability, if this card is revealed for defense, add it to your hand instead of placing it to the bottom of your deck or discarding it. Then move your figure to another outer location of your choice. So you kind of don't want to be in solo fights with Ziggy, because there is a chance that this gets hit and takes you out of the battle, which would then end the battle. So you just want to be careful of that. Plus, like, if you're the main one who still has attacks and the other Rangers are spent, getting knocked out of the fight when you are the one to try to have to play your abilities, that could be problematic too. Nitro Blaster, which is what they all have, just a nice green background. And his big attack, very flexible card. It is a 3 cost Turbo Axe with 3 shields. It's only a 4-die attack, but you can play this card in any battle, regardless of location, and when you do, you move your figure to the location of that battle. If you are already in the location, add 2 dice to this attack. So if you just happen to already be there, or you used your ability to discard a card and go to the location, it's just a 3 for a 6-die attack, which is pretty good. And you can also still combo that with Summer if you want and spread the damage. But if you absolutely need to get an attack out of nowhere, he can pay for it, jump into the battle, and throw the little 4-die attack. His Zord, the Tail Spinner, is definitely uniquely for him, but there are a few other rangers in the game that could utilize this. But exhaust his card when any ranger enters a new location during a battle. That ranger may draw up to 2 cards and deal an equal amount of damage to an enemy card of their choice. So primarily, it's going to be him, because he's the one that's discarding cards to enter new locations. But as previously mentioned, Phantom Ranger can do this. You can also utilize, who else we got? Santa's Zord, the Reindeer Zord, can drag another Ranger in. There are cards in Alpha's deck that can summon a Ranger into a location. That'll work. Technically, if a Ranger is knocked out and sent to the command center, that also counts as them entering a new location. And last up, we have Dylan, Ranger Operator Series Black. He's got a pretty cool figure. He's also, like a lot of the Black Rangers in this game, very high risk, high reward. But in this case, he is also more on the defensive side. So for him, once per battle, when any Ranger reveals a card for defense, you may choose 1 card from your hand and remove it from the game. If you do, add 5 shields to the revealed card. I mean, this is just going to keep one of your friends alive. Keep yourself alive. It's very good. It combos very strongly with one of the cards that he has in his deck, which is going to be the first one that I'll show you. The first one is going to be Defiant Strike. This is a 1 cost, 1 shield card for 3 dice, but it has a star ability, and this is the strength of what Dylan does. The star ability is when this card is revealed for defense, choose a resolved enemy card and deal it an amount of damage equal to this card's shield value. So currently it'd just be 1 anytime you get hit. If you use Dylan's ability and remove a card from your hand from the game, you could then add 5 shields to it, so it's a 6 shield card. This means it'll do 6 damage to an already resolved card. This is great against monsters and bosses. If you use the Wolf Cruiser, which is his Zord, it has the ability to add 3 shields to a card. So if you're fighting like Sword of Damocles from the Zeo Enemies, you could deal 9 damage to the Sword of Damocles because you'll have a 9 shield card. But you can also just use it with a lot of your other cards too, which is quite fun. And because you were removing cards from the game, they gave him the first ability to get one back. So for 0 cost maneuver, you get to 5 fate, 2 shields, deal a hit to an enemy card of your choice, then choose 1 combat card that is removed from the game and return it to the top of the corresponding Ranger deck. Now, why it's worded like that is because there are several villains in the game, Vengex and Evox, that can remove cards from the game. Also, Tanaya can. Those cards aren't fast. You have Do or Die, 0 cost attack for 2 dice, 2 shield. If at least 2 Ranger Operator Series Black cards are removed from the game, gain 2 energy. I mean, that's gonna happen. Next we have Final Impact. This is an X cost card. Attack special, 3 shields. For each energy spent to play this card, add 2 dice to this attack. After resolve this attack, remove it from the game. This is one of his just mega hard-hitting cards that a lot of the Black Rangers tend to have, where they throw a lot of dice, but they have some type of unusual drawback to them. Like in the case of Dino Thunder Tommy, he makes you skip the next Ranger turn. In the case of Carlos, Carlos normally has to discard cards from his hand, or the attack rolls less dice for each card that's still in your hand. It just depends on what it is. But they're very high risk, high reward. He's no exception to this. He's going to spend energy to gain this big, massive attack, but then the card is going to be removed from the game. He, of course, has the Nitro Blaster. It's just black background. And then his big card, which is the Rocket Blaster. This is at base a 3 cost card with 3 shields and a 5 dice attack. But for each Ranger Operator Series Black card, that is removed from the game. Reduce the energy cost of this card by 1 and add 1 die to this attack. So, just in general, if you're not like defying fate and bringing cards back, and you keep playing, say, all your final impacts, you can roll a big attack with this, and it could cost nothing, which is quite interesting. And of course, comboing with Summer is going to be amazing because you can spread all that damage around. His Zord, which we briefly mentioned, is the Wolf Cruiser. Exhaust this card when any ranger reveals a card for defense. If that ranger has 3 cards or fewer in their deck, add 3 shields to the revealed card. This is great to use on anybody. It's awesome to use on him, especially if you're hitting his Defiant Strikes. Maybe you've already used your ability and used one of the Defiant Strikes. You can use the other Defiant Strike with the Wolf Cruiser. And last that we have for this pack specifically are the Megazords. So we get 2. The first one is the High Octane Megazord. You exhaust this card. At the end of any ranger turn in battle, gain 2 energy. The rangers may take an additional turn after this one. The next time any ranger performs an attack during this battle, add 2 dice to that attack. So it's pretty interesting. Most of the, what we call them, the exhaust Megazords, were only used once out of the 2 battles period. They need to have a really powerful effect. And I'd say this one definitely does it. The 2 big things is it's gaining you energy right away. You get a whole nother turn because sometimes you're just in these boss fights. Maybe you're fighting Mesogog where he takes 2 turns and he had fast, so he's just activating multiple stuff. And you just are running out of time to defeat the cards, and the Ranger's just getting too beat up. You can use this card, take the extra turn, generate the energy, because who knows, you could be against Master Vile, and he drained the entire pool. Then use that turn to make some attacks, especially if you can chain attacks like that we saw with some of these RPM Rangers can do. Because Flynn can allow someone to make a 2 dice attack, and then Ziggy can combo and make an attack. And this is off of too, just being able to maybe make an attack just in general, or any of the rangers that make multiple attacks. And just add 2 dice to that attack. So it can really recover you in a bad situation really quick. I wouldn't say it's like one of the top Megazords, but I'd say it's pretty up there. Last we have the Valve Max Megazord. This one, you place 3 energy tokens on this card at the start of each battle, max of 3. After any ranger plays a card, they may remove 1 energy token from the card to place the played card on the bottom of their deck instead of discarding it and draw 1 card. So this one I really like because you can play a lot of your heavier cost cards, which are usually 3 shields, end up putting it back so you can have the shields for defense, then just draw a nice replacement card so you still have like a neat attack that you can play, anything that you want. But primarily, you're just going to try to keep putting back cards that are probably either high shields or something that you want to get for a secondary battle. Because remember, if you're getting the Megazord, you're probably in the boss fight, and you're going to have to fight him twice, maybe 3 times, depending on what it is. I mean, you could be fighting the Psycho Rangers or Cyclopsis. Those battles can take forever. This one's very good because no matter how many battles you end up doing, you'll always place 3 energy tokens on it and have the effect for each fight. All right, so that's it for the RPM Rangers. We're going to get them out of the way real quick here. And go on to the Arsenal pack. Now, we haven't had a pack like these before. Normally, they come with 5 figures. This one's only going to come with 4, 3 Rangers and 1 Nemesis, which is a type of enemy figure that you'll fight. But you still get a lot of content in here because we're getting the new Arsenal cards and their rules. And we're definitely going to take a look at those. We'll definitely look at the Arsenal rule sheet because there's a lot of stuff to go over with that. But we will break it down for you. Now, Nemesis figures were only recently introduced in the Light and Darkness, and Rangers United is where you see the majority of them. They're basically stronger than monsters, a little less than bosses, depending on which ones you're fighting against. There are quite a few that are pretty strong, especially in comparison to a boss, Dayne. I'd say Void Knight is pretty difficult at times. It really depends on what's going on, because he can do a lot of damage. All right, so I guess the first thing we're going to look at are the Arsenal cards themselves. Now, Arsenal cards are a new type of mechanic to the game. It's not mandatory that you play them. You can choose to use the effect or not. And if you do, you get to take 10 random cards, shuffle them up, put them next to the energy board. At the start of each battle, you'll take 2 randomly, put them out, and they're in play. So there are a few things about the Arsenal cards, and this is the new back of the Arsenal cards. An Arsenal card has a cost, which you'll see right here. You'll see these little tokens that look like they're shaped to be energy tokens, because that's exactly what goes there, and then they have an effect. Now, this cost is based off the Rangers discarding cards from their hand with a shield value equal to or greater than what the cost is. Now, any Rangers can do this together to gain the Arsenal cards. So, for example, if like we wanted the Animanium armor, I could discard a 1 shield card from my hand, and one of my friends can also discard a 1 shield card from their hand, and then we get the Animanium armor and then give it to whichever Ranger we think needs it. A Ranger can only have 1 Arsenal card. If you give them one and they already have one, they would choose and get rid of the one that they want. Probably, obviously, the original one that they have. Now, if you ever recover in the game, and you recover less shields than the 6, or whatever your recovery rate is, because there are ways to increase the recovery, but each shield that you choose not to recover, you can reduce the cost of any Arsenal card. You just put a token on the card to show that it has been reduced for a Ranger to purchase it. Now, you've got to remember that you need to reduce the cost of them first. You can't have a Ranger like discard cards to have something stacked there. The discarding is for the actual purchase cost. You can reduce a cost to 0 and then just give it to a Ranger. That's perfectly fine. And there are 3 types of Arsenal cards. You have the ones that you see here, which are armor. You have power-ups like the Sword of Darkness. And you have the team power-ups like the Sword of Light. So there's a couple of things interesting about them, and we'll go through them individually as we do. So, okay, let's look at these. We'll start where we were, which is the Animanium armor. So the Animanium armor is an armor. The armors go out onto a Ranger. You place an energy token on it for each of the spaces. Anytime you use the card, you then remove an energy token from it. Once the last one is removed, you get rid of the Arsenal card. So for the case of this one is the Battleizer for Wild Force. Use when you reveal a card for defense, add 1 shield to that card. And again, it only costs 2. This one I think is very good. Next we have the Defender Vest. This one costs 3. Use after you resolve a card. The next time any Ranger suffers damage this battle, reduce the damage by the amount of energy spent to play that card. This is quite good if you're using a Ranger that likes to spend a lot of energy. It's fun that they actually have a Yellow Ranger in the armor, because Yellow Rangers tend to be a lot of the batteries in this game, so they'll generate you a bunch of energy and then you can spend it. Now, as for like paying for cards, a good choice would be Nate. Nate actually has a 4-cost card in his deck, which is one of the most expensive in the game. You could then reduce the damage by 4 that a Ranger takes in the following turn. So this is quite good, and it has 2 uses. This one I honestly think is probably the strongest one out of all the Arsenal cards, which is the Dino Charge Battleizer. It costs 4, which is appropriate, and has 3 uses. You use when you perform an attack. Another Ranger may reveal an attack card from their hand with an energy cost of 1 or 0. If they do, your attack gains the effect text of that card. This is so strong. Unlike with let's see, Wes's big attack where he can gain the effect of a 1 or 0. It's only that attack, obviously, which is just set to that dice amount, and then you can pump it or do whatever. This triggers off of any attack that you happen to be making, so which is usually attacks that already have an effect. So you'll have to like figure out what it is that you want to do, but there's so many abilities that you can gain. Next is the Dino Knight mode. This costs 5, has 2 uses. Whenever you reveal a card for defense, gain 1 energy for each shield or Chroma Fury icon on that card. Obviously for Chroma Fury, that's only really going to apply to a Dino Fury Ranger, which currently we just have Izzy. We have the Dragon Shield, costs 5, 2 uses. Use to resolve one of the following effects. After you resolve an attack, perform an additional attack with 3 dice. When you suffer damage, reduce the damage by 2, then deal 2 damage to an enemy card of your choice. They're kind of in homage to the Dragon Dagger and the Dragon Shield. Hyperforce Battleizer. Use at the start of a battle. The Rangers may ignore the fast keyword to take in the first turn of battle. This is very inspired by Hyperforce Pink, who literally has this ability. This one costs 3 and has 2 uses, though. Quantum Mega Battle Armor costs 2 with 2 uses. This one's very fun and clearly was made for Eric Myers, the Quantum Ranger. Use after you roll dice for an attack. You may convert 1 blank to a hit or 1 hit to a crit. This is going to be very helpful for him because he is always dependent upon what his quantum die result is. The Red Battleizer Armor. Use before you roll dice for an attack. Add 1 dice to that attack. This is 3 costs and has 3 uses. This one is also very good for one of the cheaper armors. Red Fury mode, 4 costs with 2 uses. Use before you roll dice for an attack. Add 2 dice to that attack. After the attack resolves, another ranger must suffer damage equal to the number of blank results rolled. This could be devastating. So just be careful on what you're doing. You probably want to make sure that you either have TJ that can make it to where you're not even rolling dice and you just turn them all into hits, or you have Hyperforce Red and you can convert all those blanks to hits, or you have a lot of rerolls, or maybe you have a ranger that wants to take the damage or can take the damage in the case of Titanium Ranger. Now we're on to the power-ups. So with a power-up, when a ranger has this, it is just 1 use. It costs 4 for, say, the black box. When you use it, it's done. And it's usually a more powerful effect. In the case of this one, use when you play an attack card, double the amount of hits dealt by that card. So this is just like Lauren's black box. It's pretty devastating, pretty nasty on certain rangers. 6 costs, the power of 6. Used to resolve the following effects. You can either, when you gain energy, gain 6 instead. Use an any ranger rolls dice for an attack, you roll 6 instead. Use an any ranger suffers damage to reduce the damage by 6. This is Orion's Battleizer Vest. Sword of Darkness. Used during any ranger turn in battle. Instead of playing a card, spend 3 energy to deal 6 damage to an enemy card of your choice. This is just kind of like the Bow of Darkness that Ranger Slayer has. The Thunder Slinger. Use when any ranger plays an attack card. Add 1 die to that attack for each energy spent to play that card. This can be quite disgusting, especially with X-cost cards, because you're just going to add a lot of dice to them. Jet Cycles cost 5. Use before the start of a battle. Move up to 2 ranger figures from the center to a location of this battle. This is very good for if you need rangers to go back to the command center to recover, but you're really short on actions, like maybe they had to do a fight previous, then they had no choice but to go to the command center to fully recover because they'd be worthless in the boss fight. You could use the Jet Cycles to summon 2 of them still into the battle, and they're fully refreshed. The team power-ups have the little R here. This means that the cost of the card is equal to the total number of rangers that are in play. So if we're playing a 5-player ranger game, these cards will cost 5. Now a team card will automatically be used the first battle that the ranger who is given the team card is in play, but these cards usually apply an effect to all rangers in that battle. So this one is use at the end of the battle each time. Oh, sorry, until the end of the battle. Each time a ranger plays a card, they may draw a card to reduce the energy cost of the card by 1. Very fun. Metallic armor. During this battle, the first time each ranger reveals a card for defense, you treat it as having a shield value of 4. Dylan will like that. Power of the Solar X. Use until the end of the battle. Each time a ranger uses a once per battle ability, they may return 1 card from their discard pile to their hand. Obviously, this is going to be more for rangers that actually have once per battle abilities. Super Dino mode. Very accurate to the Dino Thunder team. During this battle, the first time each ranger performs an attack, add 1 die to this attack. SWAT armor, trying to make the SPD rangers decent. During this battle, the first time each ranger spends energy to play a card or use a character ability, they may first deal 1 hit to an enemy card of their choice. Makes SPD abilities not so terrible now. Sword of Light is really strong. Use until the start of each until the end of the battle. Each other ranger is considered to have your character ability in addition to their own. This is super strong, and there are a lot of really dumb combinations that you can do with this. Have fun looking for all of those. All right, and then for our rangers from this pack, we've got, first up, Izzy Garcia, who is the first of our Dino Fury rangers that we have. She's Dino Fury Green Ranger. She has an entirely new mechanic that seems to be what the Dino Fury Rangers themselves can do, which is that they have these Chroma Fury icons on cards, which you'll see kind of right here in this corner. Her ability, once per battle, during any ranger turn, you may use this ability. Instead of playing a card, perform an attack with a number of dice equal to the number of Chroma Fury icons in your hand. Then shuffle your hand into your deck and draw 2 cards. This is very strong, and you'll see why in just a moment. It seems like the Dino Fury team card is going to be Chroma Fury Saber. This is a 0-cost attack for 1 shield. It does 3 damage. You're probably like, that's insane. I can't believe it just does 3 auto damage for 0. But the most important aspect of this card is actually that it has 2 Chroma Fury icons. This is going to work with all of your other cards. Unless you absolutely need to do 3 auto damage, you're going to probably keep this card in your hand and use it for other effects, which I'll show you. One of her other cards is the Jade Javelin. This is a 1-cost, 1 shield attack with 2 dice. You may ignore the guard keyword when choosing a target for this attack. Reveal 1 card from your hand and add 1 die to this attack for each Chroma Fury icon on this card. Again, we can use that Chroma Fury Saber. And this becomes a 4-die attack that ignores guard. It's pretty good. Just 2 copies of this. Mold Breaker is a 0-cost maneuver, 3 shields. Gain 1 energy. Any ranger may discard a maneuver or reaction to perform an attack with 2 dice. If that card has a star ability or Chroma Fury icon, add 2 dice to this attack. This is quite interesting. It allows a lot of rangers to get rid of cards that they may not be using, and especially a lot of the star ability rangers to be able to generate attacks. And these could be huge attacks. And yes, she also has reactions and maneuvers with Chroma Fury icons. Her big card is the Tiger Fury Strike. It's 3 cost, 3 shields. It is a 4-dice attack. After you resolve this attack, perform an additional attack with a number of dice equal to the number of Chroma Fury icons in your hand. This is extremely good. Again, on average, you might have 3 to 4 Chroma Fury cards in your hand, or cards with icons. This could be a 4-dice attack into a 3 to 4 dice attack. Then you could just use her ability, make a 3 or 4 dice attack, shuffle those cards back, draw 2 new cards. She's very good at sustaining herself and just putting out a lot of damage. Now here's where they're unique. She has these generic cards that are literally for any Dino Fury Ranger. So the more of them that we get, the more customization we'll be able to have over them as a team. But she currently has the Muscle Dino Key. This is a 0-cost reaction with 2 shields, has 1 Chroma Fury icon. Play this card when any ranger performs an attack, add 1 die to the attack. you're not as likely to use it for its card effect. You're probably just using it for the fact that it has a Chroma Fury icon. This one, though, this one's very good. 1 cost reaction, 2 shields, has 1 Chroma Fury icon. Play this card at the start of battle. The Rangers may ignore the fast keyword to take the first turn in battle. This is very good. Also, she wasn't really like pitched as a solo ranger, but she has all the makings to be a very solid solo ranger. And here's her Zord, the Tiger Claw Zord. Exhaust this card after any ranger performs an attack. During the next ranger turn in battle, instead of playing a card, you may perform an attack with half of the mini dice rounded down. So if I make a 6 dice attack, tap the Zord, next turn, instead of making an attack, instead of playing a card, I make a 3 dice attack. Next up, we have Dragon Armor Trini. So this is standard Trini Quan, but she has the Black Dragon armor on. Her ability is at the start of each battle, place the Dragon Claw token on an enemy card of your choice. Rangers may ignore the guard keyword when attacking that card until the end of the battle. This is the token, by the way. We got our big girl card first. It's a 3-cost maneuver, 3 shields. It's called the Havoc Laser. Immediately defeat the enemy card with the Dragon Claw token. Then shuffle your hand into your deck. So if you have nothing better to do or this is the last card, you can just knock out any card you want with this, as long as it's got the Dragon Claw marker on it. She has 2 copies of Guard Crush, 1 cost reaction with 3 shields. Play this card when an enemy card with the Dragon Claw marker resolves. Deal a hit to that card and reduce all damage it deals by 1. This is pretty interesting. You're doing passive damage. You're also reducing damage that it deals. This works very well against cards that deal damage to multiple rangers. Jet Crush is a 1-cost attack with 3 dice. After you resolve this attack, place the Dragon Claw token on a main card of your choice. This is one of her few cards that actually lets you move the Dragon Claw marker. I also know something about her deck. She has, I think, no 2s in her deck. She is the new deck type, which I guess is deck type E, which has only 1 shields and 3 shields. She has a 0-cost maneuver with 1 shield called Dragon Rage. Place a Dragon Claw token on any card of your choice. Deal 1 hit to that card. If it defeats the card, you may spend an energy to repeat this effect. We have used this a few times to just chain off of a bunch of close to defeated cards, or set up for it by having a big spread damage attack and injuring everything, then just use Dragon Rage Trini over here and just smash everything. Let's see, Energy Harvest is her card that she only has 1 of. This is a 0-cost maneuver with 1 shield. Gain an energy for each hit token on the enemy card with the Dragon Claw token. Another ranger may immediately play 1 card. This one is fairly decent. You just want to make sure it's on a big card and you have another ranger with you to help you actually play the card. 0-cost attack for 2 dice, has 3 shields. Vorpal Claws. Add 1 dice attack if the target has a Dragon Claw token. And now I'm going to show you the strongest thing about her. It's her Zord, which happens to just be her, but really big. It is the Mega Black Dragon. This thing is crazy good. Exhaust this card during a battle. Place the Dragon Claw token on an enemy card of your choice. The health value of an enemy card with the Dragon Claw token is reduced by 1. This is one of the few Zords that actually has just a passive ability and is always working. So yes, when you get this Zord out and you just use her ability to place the Dragon Claw marker, it will have -1 health. This is just going to let you move the Dragon Claw marker somewhere else. Or if you play this and you happen to not even be in that battle, you place a Dragon Claw marker on it, and then thus it will have -1 health. But it's much better to use it when Trini's in the battle, because she has the ability to move the token around and do all kinds of stuff. Remember that Dragon Rage we were talking about? She can slay some foot soldiers real quick when they have -1 health, and you're just pinging them all for 1 damage. Alright, and the last ranger from this pack is another Dino Charge Ranger. Tyler Navarro. We're slowly getting this team. Of course, his ability is called It's About to Get Wild. Once per battle, at the start of any ranger turn, any ranger may draw 2 cards. If they do, add 2 dice to the next attack that ranger performs during this turn. This is quite good. It has a drawback of that you have to draw 2 cards, but you just got to be careful when you do it. Unlike a lot of other rangers, he does not have a 3-cost card, which we'll get to in a second. Right now, he's got 2 copies of Final Strike. It's a 0-cost attack for 2 dice, 3 shields. If you've already used your once per battle ability during this battle, add 1 die to this attack. This is very interesting. Like, it's just a strong attack, but this is the first time we've gotten into design space with actually have using your once per battle ability. Some Purple Rangers will let you use it again, but this is the first time where we're checking to see if you've done it. He has 2 copies of Go For It, a 0-cost maneuver, 1 shield. Another ranger may immediately play 1 attack card. They may ignore the guard keyword, or re-roll any number of dice during that attack. If you've already used your once per battle ability during this battle, they may do both. This is extremely good. Forward motion, 0-cost reaction, 2 shields. Play this card when another ranger performs an attack. Before they roll, draw a card, gain 1 energy, and add a die to that attack. Just remember that you were the one that's actually drawing the card. He has 2 copies of Wild Punch, 1 cost 3 dice attack, 2 shields. After you resolve this attack, you may place up the 2 cards from your hand on top of your deck, gain 1 energy for each card. This card is super good with his ability and all the card draw he has. This will actually let you enter a fight and still have your maximum hand size, draw up without fear of being knocked out because you can just start off with the Wild Punch, easily throw 5 dice because you're using your ability, put some cards back, generate some energy. It's very good. He's also just such an interesting Red Ranger because he has a lot of this support mechanics to it, like more so than some of the other ones do. Some of the other ones are like, we'll give you some dice or we'll give you a reroll or some energy, but he does a lot. Their team card, which is, man, probably one of the best that any team has, is the Dino Saber. It's 1 shield, 1 cost attack, does 3 auto damage, which is just great. But any ranger may draw a card. If they do, you can ignore the guard keyword when choosing a target for this attack. This is just super flexible. The card draw is also very good, especially since it allows any ranger to do that. And his big cost card is actually only a 2 cost, is the T-Rex Smasher. 2 cost attack for 3 dice, 3 shields. The next time any ranger performs an attack during this battle, add 2 die to that attack. He is all about pumping dice. This is basically a mini power sword, which is very familiar from Jason, Mighty Morphin Red in the base game. It's just 1 less for 2 less dice, but still has the same effect. And his Zord, the T-Rex Zord, exhaust this card after any ranger resolves an attack. If that attack did not defeat the target, roll 2 dice and deal that many hits to the target. So it's just a backup. I failed to do what I needed to do. Tyler will get it done. And the only other thing in this pack is our Nemesis, which is the Void Knight. He is the main antagonist in the early season of Dino Fury. So as a Nemesis, it means that he will have a Nemesis ability on his deployment card, which I'll show you right here. His is really nasty. It's at the start of each battle, Void Knight deals an amount of damage equal to the total number of Zord and Arsenal cards in play. So whatever that amount is combined, he's just dealing a mass amount of damage to 1 ranger. Obviously, the later in the game that you end up finding him, so if he's the second monster encounter you have, the more devastating it will be because you'll likely have more Arsenal cards and more Zord cards. So you got to be very careful. He's one where the difficulty of him is definitely dependent upon when you encounter him. So he's got 2 copies of Energy Pulse. This is a 4 health fast guard card. It deals 3 damage to each ranger. If that ranger has at least 1 Zord or Arsenal card in play, increase this damage by 2. Oh my gosh. it hits like a truck. He has 2 copies of Purple Lightning. This is a 4 health fast card. Deal 4 damage each to half of the rangers in this battle, rounded up. The damage cannot be reduced by Zord or Arsenal card effects. That can be rough depending on what your ranger lineup is and what your Zord and Arsenal cards are. He has 2 copies of this passive card, and you should pray that he does not get both of them out at the same time. It's Tempest counter, 5 health passive. Each time this card or an adjacent enemy card is defeated, deal an amount of damage equal to that card's health value. Increase this damage by 1 for each Zord or Arsenal card in play. This is truly, truly devastating. And if there are 2 of them, the abilities will stack depending on what the card is that you're hitting. This is very problematic to encounter him. Sometimes you'll fight him, he's okay. It's just that early hit. Other times, he'll get his wombo combo, and it's devastating. He's got 1 copy of Void Blade, 6 health, just generic card. Any ranger may discard a Zord or Arsenal card from play. If they do not, deal 5 damage to each ranger. Yeah, there's a reason why this one doesn't have fast, so you don't have to worry about it going off first, which is what you would want to reduce the damage his other cards do, because you just toss an Arsenal card. He has 1 copy of Void Shield. It's a 3 health guard passive. Increase this card's health value by 1 for each Zord or Arsenal card in play. So yeah, it starts out pretty weak, but it gets very strong very quickly for defense, and it's just guarding all his other cards. So he's kind of scary. It just mainly depends on what he's got going on. If you did the pre-order campaign, or it's still on the website, I believe LGSs that have Renegade accounts can still order these. But if you just did the pre-order campaign anyways, you get a metal lead ranger token, which is quite fun. It's heavy too. You also got for this previous wave, which was the Forever Red pack. This is a pack of cards that allows you to swap cards in ranger decks in your red ranger deck on a 1-for-1 basis. So it has to be just straight up same shield value, swap the card out, but it could be any red ranger in the game. And it gives you 2 copies of each of these cards, which I'll just go through them real quick. You have Commanding Strike, 0 cost, 2 dice attack. If you're the lead ranger, another ranger may immediately play 1 card after you resolve this attack. Otherwise, add 1 die to this attack. Dramatic Finish. This is a 1 cost reaction. Play this card after the last ranger turn in battle. The rangers may take an additional turn. Forever Red, 2 cost maneuver. Until the end of this battle, each time a ranger performs an attack, they may re-roll any number of dice during that attack. That's a quite nice passive effect to have going. Heroic Resolve. I mean, this is primarily for Quantum Ranger. 0 cost reaction. Play this card after any ranger rolls dice outside of an attack. Convert 1 blank or hit into a crit result. Red Strength. This is really good with Tyler, Jason, anybody that can grant dice. It's a 0 cost reaction. Play this card when any ranger adds dice to another ranger's attack. Add 2 additional dice to that attack. This can be very gross very quickly. Rising Power, 1 cost, 3 dice attack. If you are the lead ranger, return this card to your hand instead of discarding it. Otherwise, gain the lead ranger token. You notice a lot of these cards are dealing with you being the leader, which is what red rangers usually are. 1 cost reaction, stand together. Play this card when any ranger suffers damage. Reduce that damage by an amount equal to the number of rangers in this battle. Together as 1. 0 cost reaction. Play this card at the start of the battle. All rangers and other locations may use their once per battle abilities in this battle. This is quite fun too when you're just doing like these weird solo battles and you want the red ranger to go show off. The other rangers can still provide their abilities. United Strike. This one could be very strong. It's a 3 cost attack special. Each ranger in this battle, so that includes you, may discard 1 card from their hand with an energy cost of 1 or 0. This card's attack value is equal to the combined attack values of the discarded cards. So in a standard 5-player game, this card can get a huge value really quickly. And it's whatever the values are So it could be straight auto damage as well as dice. And then the last card, which I think is probably the strongest card in this Forever Red deck, is One for All. 0 cost attack, 1 dice plus an auto damage. The next time any ranger performs an attack during this battle, add as many dice to that attack as you rolled for this attack. This is very disgusting because you can put all of your pumps into this, throw this massive attack, then all the dice you rolled, you apply to the next attack. And if you start chaining them into other one for alls, or if you're playing a Forever Red scenario where you're all Red Rangers one for all, you're just chaining bigger and bigger and bigger attacks. Like most bosses and monsters are just not going to be able to stand up to this. But that is all the stuff that we got from this wave. The current wave is up for pre-order now. I believe it's Ranger Ally Pack 4, which is going to actually have a lot of Rangers that we haven't had from stuff. I know it's Blue Centurion. We're getting Levi Weston, so the first Ninja Steel Ranger. We're getting Orion's, our first Super Mega Force Ranger. And we're getting the brothers from Ninja Storm, which is Navy and Crimson. But also on the package, you can see like Phantom Ranger and Phantom Ranger and Magna Defender are up on like the banner. And then on the side, you can see Matt, who is one of the alternate Green Rangers from the Boom comic book series. And it looks like Orion has this extra combat deck that is based off of using his key cards, because his one card that they show off lets you draw a card from your key deck. I imagine these are other 6 Ranger combat cards, but we know that there are 3 extra Ranger cards. So we assume maybe we're getting just an update to say the Mighty Morphin Green via Matt, Magna Defender, and Phantom Ranger maybe getting new cards. Who knows? That's just my speculation at the moment. And the combat cards could be from anything, or they could be completely unique to Orion. But I recommend definitely getting on. I believe the pre-order bonus for that is the Forever Blue pack. So now we're going to get a bunch of customization with our Blue Rangers. And that's basically all we have for today. I believe next video will be on Star Trek Attack Wing as usual. I still have to do the These Are the Voyages pack. But until next time, bye guys.